Good evening, I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Andrew is away. Tonight, Quebec heads back into partial lockdown as COVID cases surge.
4 weeks with these measures to see if we can stop the second wave.
Businesses brace for impact, what you can and cannot do in Quebec's red zone.
Our collective actions will decide if we face a wave or a tsunami.
Despite record-setting cases in Ontario, the government is resisting a rollback, relying instead on good behavior. Hospitals say that's not good enough.
Americans in Canada can make an enormous difference.
The woman who was almost on the ticket for the White House. In our exclusive interview, Democrat Susan Rice has a message to Americans living in this country. And the band played on.
This is strange to be in the same room playing music together.
How a high school band in Regina is making music in masks. This is The National. Tonight, 3 areas of Quebec are preparing to once again face tough pandemic restrictions. Bars and theaters will close. Restaurants will revert back to takeout only, all in an effort to stop surging COVID cases. It comes as the world hits a terrible new tally: 1 million documented COVID-19 deaths. Many couldn't fathom that 7 months ago when this virus was still brand new. And with no cure and no vaccine, worry about what's to come grows, including in this country. Today, Ontario reported 700 new cases, its biggest one-day jump ever. Quebec reported 750, down from yesterday, but still pushing that curve higher. And so a new plan from Quebec's government to flatten that curve once again. Alison Northcott with where and when the rules will come into effect.
The Quebec government says the situation is critical, so 3 regions, including Montreal and Quebec City, are heading to the highest level of alert.
If we don't want our hospitals to be submerged, if we want to limit the number of deaths, we must act strongly.
As of Thursday, for 28 days, private gatherings with people from different households won't be allowed. Movie theaters, bars, casinos, libraries, and museums will close. Restaurants can only do takeout or delivery. Jonathan Dresner had to lay off workers at his restaurants during the first shutdown, but adapted to public health measures when things reopened.
All the employees that we hired, all the measures that we took, all the money we spent on plexiglass and disinfectant and masks and goggles and I mean, it's very depressing.
I'm very nervous about this. I think everyone is. I don't think anyone really knows what the future holds.
Even some businesses that can stay open worry they'll take a hit too, as the government urges Quebecers to limit their activities.
It took me, all of July and August and most of September to just catch breath of the 3 months that we were closed.
During the shutdown of her hairdressing school and salon last spring, Nancy Falaise says she took a job cleaning at a long-term care home, got COVID, recovered, and just reopened in June.
We disinfect everything, but now with the red, people are just canceling already.
The Premier says his goal is to keep schools open and avoid situations like this, where cases forced a school south of Montreal to close for 2 weeks.
The community transmission is out of control.
This infectious disease specialist says reducing activities is a crucial step.
This virus is vicious, so it seems that we're always like a week behind it.
The government hopes a month of restrictions will be enough to change course. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Now in Ontario, some are calling for more restrictions after seeing today's daily case count hit a record high. It comes after weeks of increasing numbers and increasing worry. Magda Gebrselassie with the provincial government's response today.
As Ontario's COVID cases spike, this salon owner worries. He's already lost so much money in this pandemic.
If we go into another lockdown, if I lose 30,000 more, it's going to be really tough for me.
Still, he's calling for more restrictions.
I think we should go back to stage 2 just to control the numbers.
The Ontario Hospital Association echoed that today, calling for more restrictions to things like indoor dining, bars and movie theaters in areas with high case counts like Toronto and Ottawa.
Our health officials are telling us that Ontario is now in the second wave of COVID-19.
But despite today's record cases, no new restrictions were announced.
We don't want to turn back a stage unless we absolutely have to, but if we do have to, we will.
The COVID-19 Modeling Collaborative is projecting Ontario could hit more than 1,000 new cases a day by mid-October.
This disease is getting out of control in the community, and it tells us that we really need to scale back our close contact with people.
Yet several casinos opened up for the first time in months today, sparking criticism.
These indoor locales, these indoor bars, restaurants, casinos, these are super spreading locales. Of course you're going to see, the more we open these bars up, and this is exactly what's happened.
In Toronto, where 381 new cases were reported today, the medical officer of health is recommending new rules for bars and restaurants, including reducing the number of people allowed in and turning down the music so people don't have to speak loudly, helping spread the virus. The government said today targeted measures may be considered, but as for what those would be and what it would take to bring them in, that's still unknown. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
In British Columbia, 267 cases were identified over the weekend. That is significantly less than Ontario and Quebec. Yet BC health officials are urging people to just stay home.
I'm asking you to travel less, to see fewer people, to stay with your household, connect with others, the other important people in your life, virtually.
Dr. Henry blamed weddings, birthdays, funerals, and other gatherings for the new cases. Meanwhile, in one province over, Calgary's Foothills Hospital postponed surgeries and restricted visitors today as a growing outbreak forced more than 130 workers into isolation. Alberta reported 406 new cases since Friday. The concern isn't just that the rate of new infections is higher, it's that it's rising faster than even a couple of weeks ago. That is the danger of a curve. A month ago, newly reported cases in Canada rose gradually. By mid-September, they hit around 700 daily. Alarming enough. But then the trajectory changed. In just 2 weeks, daily new cases have doubled to more than 1,400. If this continues, the country will see the worst infection rates ever in just days. Vicadopia shows us how things can get so bad so quickly and how right now that curve depends heavily on what we all do.
Opening up every day is unnerving when you run a restaurant in these times. Margins are slim, rules change, it's a constant calculation, and the pandemic math is no less frustrating.
The numbers are doubling. This is all reasonably foreseeable. We would have had to have taken mitigation strategy a month ago to see any result now.
That doubling is the result of exponential growth when the virus's reproduction rate climbs above 1. Canada's reproduction rate right now is 1.4, which means every 10 COVID-positive people will likely infect 14 others, who then pass it on to 20 people, and on from there. The higher the reproduction rate, the faster it spreads. At the current reproduction rate, Canada's second wave could be bigger than the first.
The thing about that number, though, and the thing that we always have to keep in mind, is that that number changes and it's not constant. It depends and it varies based on our behavior. So it's not just a property of the virus, it's a property of the population that it's spreading in.
Managing behavior is a key variable in calculating how bad the second wave will get. Despite a high reproduction rate the first time around, Canada managed to beat the odds with strict lockdown measures.
It's going to be hard to try and impose again those kind of restrictions.
This behavioral scientist's research found the more frequently governments extended lockdown dates, the less cooperative the public gets. Then doubt builds.
People saying, well, I don't know anybody who got COVID, so probably it's not even real and it's not really that big of a deal. But, of course, from a statistical point of view, it makes no sense. But people tend to overweight what's closer to them, the evidence that's available to them.
No matter how governments choose to act, the public's cooperation will be critical. Vicadopia, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, so much to process here, so let's bring in infectious disease specialist Dr. Isaac Bogosh. Dr. Bogosh, Quebec bringing in these restrictions for parts of the province, closing the restaurants, bars, movie theaters. Are these restrictions good enough?
I think they will be good enough. I think it's going to take a little bit of time before we start to see the effect of these restrictions. But unfortunately, Quebec just has such a high number of cases and the rate keeps climbing and climbing that these heavy-handed restrictions were sadly probably necessary because they probably crossed the threshold where targeted public health restrictions would have been effective. If they were more proactive, if they had acted in a more, I think, significant manner earlier on, they probably could have gotten away with more targeted public health interventions. But with such a high case burden, unfortunately, more blunt tools such as this are necessary to keep cases under control.
And so for the other provinces that don't have these restrictions yet, at what point do we stop relying on asking people nicely to change their behavior and move to something tougher?
Yeah, I think that the cases will really have to cross some imaginary threshold where really these asking people nicely and using very focused and targeted restrictions just aren't as effective anymore. And I think every province will decide where that threshold is for themselves. I think we're probably getting close to that in some of the more high impact places in Canada, though.
Okay, long way to go. Dr. Bogosh, as always, thank you.
My pleasure.
In the United States, Donald Trump insisted on Twitter today that a New York Times report about his tax avoidance is, quote, fake news. And as Susan Ormiston tells us, this gives Joe Biden fresh ammunition for the big debate tomorrow.
The devil is in the detail.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And President Trump didn't want to talk taxes today.
Financial information!
His deputy spokesperson stepped up.
It certainly seems like just a coordinated political smear.
As the stage is set for the first presidential debate tomorrow night in Cleveland, Republican strategists are trying to bury uncomfortable facts.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
That the year Trump became president, he paid only $750 in federal income taxes, and 10 out of the 15 previous years, he paid none. The Democrats unleashed a ready-made ad comparing his $750 with, say, a nurse who pays $10,000 in taxes.
It's reprehensible. It's horrific.
It's just more proof that he's a con man and always has been.
In an exclusive interview with the National, former security advisor Susan Rice tore into the president.
He deducted $75,000 worth of haircuts. And this is a guy who, says he's for the American people. It's a joke.
Trump's business assets, like his prized hotel in the heart of Washington, have always posed a conflict of interest threat. The hotel lost $55 million in 2 years. In all, reports the New York Times, Trump owes over $400 million payable in the next 4 years.
If that money is from foreign sources, then it really opens a Pandora's box about foreign influence issues with the President of the United States. It does not get any more serious than that.
Ivanka Trump is also named. At the same time, she was a business executive for the family business. Her father was paying consultancy fees, and one of them matched exactly what she got, which allowed him to write off $750,000 as a business expense. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Washington.
Susan mentioned our exclusive interview with Susan Rice. We also spoke about the moment she found out she was not Biden's pick for vice president and her message to Americans in Canada. All that and more in just a few minutes. A U.S. judge has denied bail to the Quebec woman accused of sending a toxin-laced letter to Donald Trump. Pascal Ferrier made a brief court appearance in Buffalo, pleading not guilty to the charge of threatening the president. The 53-year-old is accused of mailing a letter laced with ricin to the White House and to several officials in Texas. She was arrested last week while trying to cross into the U.S. Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou made an appearance in a Vancouver court today, continuing to fight her extradition to the United States. Her lawyers allege American prosecutors misled Canada about the strength of their case against Meng. Briar Stewart has more on where it goes from here.
Surrounded by security, Meng Wanzhou made her way to court this morning, where her lawyers made another attempt to get her extradition case tossed out. Today, they attacked what's called the record of the case.
What they are saying is that the American prosecutors, in fact, cherry-picked the type of evidence that they wanted to present to the Canadian authorities.
Specifically, her lawyers say the U.S. didn't include PowerPoint slides, which they believe show Meng was upfront about Huawei's relationship with Skycom, a company doing business in Iran. The U.S. insists Skycom was a Huawei subsidiary and that Meng deceived HSBC, which led the bank to violate U.S. economic sanctions.
As part of their case, Meng's lawyers are also arguing that her rights were violated and that she's being used as a pawn by the Trump administration. Back in 2018, shortly after her arrest, the president said he would intervene if it helped the U.S. with China trade negotiations.
The facts certainly establish that, in our view, that this is a political prosecution, that this is about President Trump and his administration trying to obtain leverage.
Some legal observers say Meng's team is trying to buy time.
Ms. Meng has the financial resources to pay substantial legal fees over a period of years.
This professor says the longer this drags on, the more likely it is that there will be some kind of settlement involving her case and the two Michaels, Canadians who are in Chinese custody and charged with spying. Another potential game changer is also looming.
It's entirely conceivable that a Biden administration might choose to withdraw the extradition request as part of a new foreign policy towards China.
Which is why Meng's case could be influenced by much more than the arguments made in court. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now to a CBC investigation also involving the courts. Some women who have left abusive relationships are being warned not to mention that in a custody battle. If they do, a judge can accuse them of parental alienation. This is a concept legal advocates say is being weaponized. And as Tara Carmen explains, the consequences can be severe.
Amanda had photos and diaries documenting more than 2 years of injuries to herself and her son. Police recommended charges against her ex and wrote in a report that Amanda was in serious danger of being killed. But Crown prosecutors said there wasn't enough evidence to charge and told her to instead seek protection through family court. Amanda says she'll never forget what happened when she started to talk about the violence.
The judge at the time rolled his eyes and scoffed at me. And at the end of that, I was told by the judge that he believes that I'm alienating my child from his father, and I would lose custody of my child if I kept going down that path.
Amanda is not her real name. CBC News is not disclosing the BC woman's identity because her case is before the courts. She's not alone. Amanda is one of hundreds of abuse survivors across Canada who say they've been accused of parental alienation, or turning their child against the other parent, when they talk about domestic violence in custody proceedings. In BC alone, the Rise Women's Legal Clinic interviewed 160 abuse survivors who had been through family court. Just over half claimed they'd been accused of parental alienation.
And those conversations left us really concerned about the use of parental alienation claims being used in a retaliatory way when family violence is claimed.
Because alienation is considered a form of emotional abuse, judges punish it harshly. Canadian research over the course of a decade found that while judges make alienation findings against fathers and mothers in roughly equal measure, the consequences were worse for women. They were more than twice as likely to lose access to their children when alienation findings were made against them. Amanda says she feels abandoned as she waits for the court's decision on her family's future. Tara Carmen, CBC News, Vancouver.
Members of Canada's Bengali community are speaking out after several young men took their own lives in the span of just 2 years. Farah Morali now on a small group within the community who took it upon themselves to find out why.
It's been 3.5 years since the body of 21-year-old Fahmi Rahman was pulled from the waters of Lake Ontario, but the memory is still very raw.
On March 31st, we got the call that they found him. Even then, we were beyond hope. We were thinking, okay, maybe they found someone else, but it was him.
He left behind a suicide note in his room weeks before, talking about the pain he felt. Rahman is one of 13 young Bengali men in the GTA who died by suicide between 2016 and 2017.
The number of people who committed suicide within a very short period of time was alarming, actually.
Alarming enough to prompt some professionals in the community to explore why. They found a pattern.
All of them are in between, the 17 to 23,
in this age group, they were all in university student or college student, and all are male.
For the past 2 years, the group has been interviewing parents and young men in the Bengali community, culminating in a report.
Number one findings and major findings was the communication gap. So the communication gap between parents and children.
In group discussions, they learned young men felt pressure to perform academically and were searching for someone to share their feelings with, which can carry a stigma.
This is kind of, the taboo and based on the mental health, like people got discriminated.
I was just having a lot of mental breakdowns, and it was just getting worse and worse, to the point where I didn't even think I needed to live.
Some of those findings ring true for 19-year-old Ifad Hassan, who has opened up to his parents about his struggles in high school.
I still think there's a stigma. Like, a lot of people, they're afraid to open up. I myself was afraid to open up at first.
The group hopes to share their research widely.
If this research can save one life, we would say our research is successful.
Saving one life can mean saving a family a lifetime of pain. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
The timing could not be worse for the patients of hundreds of doctors across Alberta.
It's like, now what do we do?
Next on The National, why are so many physicians considering packing up in the middle of a pandemic? And as Trump and Biden prepare to face off, or on the ground, talking with the voters they're trying to win over.
When he spoke and said those promises, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
And bringing back the band.
I love playing music, and it just feels like home, I guess.
Making music during a pandemic. We are back in 2 minutes. At least 3 people have died and thousands have been forced from their homes as fast-moving wildfires engulf California's wine country. The main blaze north of San Francisco has yet to be contained, with nearly 45 square kilometers scorched since Sunday. It is one of 27 major fires burning in the state.
Oh no, look at all the umbrellas! Wow! Oh no! Get down, guys!
And a pretty frightening encounter for beachgoers after a tornado touched down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina over the weekend. Luckily, the damage appears to be minimal as the twister mostly just remained on the sand. There is no good time to lose your doctor, but a pandemic seems like a particularly bad time. A voluntary survey shows hundreds of doctors in Alberta are considering leaving the province. Carolyn Dunn spoke with one family afraid of being left in the lurch for medical care.
Going about the chores on the family farm, there's no sign of health difficulties Bill and Nicole Holton have endured. 3 years ago, Nicole suffered a miscarriage, then a second and a third.
So I had nowhere to go, no one to talk to, and thankfully for the doctors at the Moose and Squirrel, they've been there for me 100% of the way.
So it was a blow when the Holtons got a letter saying 5 of 8 doctors are leaving their clinic and Alberta.
We felt crushed. And going through all this fertility stuff, it's like, now what do we do?
Their physician, Dr. Alana Bowie, wrote one of those letters.
So hard. It was like so many things that led to that decision, but yeah, it was awful.
Dr. Bowie planned to stay in her home province of Alberta, but she's moving to BC next spring, fed up with a protracted contract battle with the province over how to save money and still deliver quality care.
I think it was death by 1,000 cuts, where it was just all of these little insidious things that made it more and more difficult, made my job feel more and more unstable.
Last February, the province cancelled its master agreement with the Alberta Medical Association, and since then, Premier Jason Kenney's message has been that this very public battle is nothing more than a wage dispute run amok.
And without responsible leadership, we will see another $2 billion increase in those costs.
As for the resignations, a spokesperson for Health Minister Tyler Shandro wrote in a statement, "We do not expect shortages overall or in any specific community, apart from the normal staffing challenges in smaller centres." Dr. Bowie says the impasse is about broken trust and not greed.
And then the vilification of physicians and gaslighting of Albertans to believe that this is all financially motivated, when in fact it's not at all.
After struggling to try to start a family, the Holtons are left with more uncertainty.
Just not knowing where we're going to go next. What's the next step for making sure we have the proper medical care?
Or if they'll have a doctor come spring. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Caroline, Alberta.
Next, an exclusive interview with Susan Rice, who has a lot on her mind.
This is offensive. It's offensive to me as an American. I can't imagine how offensive it is to Canadians.
We talk about what's at stake for Canada in this election and her message for Americans living on this side of the border. Tonight, an exclusive Canadian interview with top Democrat Susan Rice. There's a bit of urgency in it, directed at this country from our neighbors to the south. Their polling day a little over a month away, but hundreds of thousands of people in this country eligible to vote in the U.S. may not realize they might have just days left to get their ballots sorted. This is partly why Obama's former national security advisor and U.S. ambassador to the UN, Susan Rice, has a few thoughts for Canada right now. She knows this country well, lived here while her husband was a producer with CBC's The Journal, and she has a case to make that the whole Biden team gets Canada. We sat down virtually, as you do these days, to talk about the looming election, the imminent debates, the Supreme Court, and what all of this means for Canada. Firstly, Ambassador, thank you. You were on a short list to be the VP, and I'm curious, how do you find out that you're not the candidate?
Well, Vice President Biden called me, and we spoke about it. But we'd had a number of conversations in the course of my interview process and his selection process. So we'd been in regular communication. And then on the day when he made his final decision, he called me and let me know what he had decided. And I congratulated him, and then shortly thereafter called Senator Harris and congratulated her.
You didn't go out and smash a few extra tennis balls that day?
Not at all. Not at all.
I'm curious why you want to talk today.
Well, Adrian, I really want to underscore to the Americans in Canada that this is their election and they ought to register very quickly and vote. You know, there's 620,000 estimated Americans in Canada who are eligible to vote right now. And in 2016, barely more than 5% of them sent their ballots in and voted. And when you consider that many of these Americans abroad, including in Canada, come from what are now swing states, like, for example, Michigan. In 2016, the margin of victory for Donald Trump in Michigan was 11,000 votes. So Americans in Canada can make an enormous difference.
So very clearly, when you're saying you want them to vote, you're talking, let's be clear, about voting for Biden. And I'm wondering...
No, I'm talking about them voting, because I represent my own personal interest, but I'm here to say to Americans of all political persuasions, they ought to participate. And there's a very straightforward way to do it. You go to votefromabroad.org. Votefromabroad.org, and you can register in the state in which you were last resident or in which your parents were last resident.
A lot of Canadians are asking the question that what kind of difference would it actually mean for Canada? Because if you look at the trade policies, the prospect of President Biden putting the U.S. back into the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, that might not be good for Canada. You know, canceling XL Pipeline, that might be a problem for Canada. The Buy America program for Biden, that might be a problem for Canada. So what's the argument, particularly on trade, that it's a good vote to vote for Biden?
When it comes to trade, Joe Biden has historically understood the absolute necessity of good trading relationships between the United States and Canada. That doesn't mean there won't be issues, as there always have been, on which we differ, perhaps softwood lumber or salmon or you name it.
Aluminum.
But here's an important distinction. Joe Biden is not going to penalize Canada on national security grounds in sectors where it makes absolutely no sense. To say, as Donald Trump has, that we're going to impose steel and aluminum tariffs on Canada because Canada poses a national security threat to the United States, when Canada has been by our side in every major conflict, lost more per capita in Afghanistan than almost any other country. I mean, this is offensive. It's offensive to me as an American. I can't imagine how offensive it is to Canadians.
So in the event of a Biden win, what is the plan to ensure a smooth transition? Because you keep hearing rumblings from the White House that we will see, in the vernacular of the president, what happens.
The Biden campaign has lined up an unprecedented number of the highest quality election lawyers that we have ever assembled. Two former Solicitor Generals are running this effort, and we will have teams in every state where we expect issues and contention to make sure that the votes are counted and that this is, in fact, a free and fair election. Donald Trump is operating out of fear. He fears he's going to lose. And for that reason, he's casting doubt on the integrity of our election.
Before the voting begins in earnest, there is the debate, the matter of the debates. They start tomorrow night. Even Joe Biden has talked about wanting to avoid getting in a brawl with Donald Trump. How important is that?
Well, Donald Trump is a bully, and Donald Trump will try to bait Joe Biden. And I think in particular by attacking his family on completely false lines. And Joe Biden is going to have to parry those attacks strongly but calmly and get back to the issues that the American people care about.
A lot of the people President Trump wants to vote for him are celebrating Justice Amy Barrett and what they expect to be a quick...
Not justice yet.
They expect to
Judge.
be a judge. I'm sorry. What they expect to be a quick confirmation. For a lot of American conservatives who are uncomfortable with Donald Trump, this, though, is proof that he is fulfilling a promise to them. Isn't that reason enough for them to vote for him?
Well, I'm sure there are many reasons that Trump's hardcore supporters will vote for him, but the majority of the American people, Democrats and independents and even a number of Republicans, have said very clearly that they believe that the selection of the next Supreme Court justice ought to be done by the winner of the election, not now in advance of the election. Substantial majorities of Americans say that. Now, I have no doubt that it will please some of Trump's hardest core supporters. It is off-putting and disconcerting, if not alienating, to many of the rest of Americans. And it shows a degree of hypocrisy that's really quite extraordinary.
Do the Democrats have any cards to play in this to change the course of that?
Well, if the vote is rammed through before the election, the Democrats' ability to stop it is very minimal. They can slow it to some extent, but they can't stop it. And I think it will cause Americans of all political stripes to think through, in the context of a Biden presidency, if we have one, which of course I hope we do, and a Democratic Senate and House, how do we rectify this incredible imbalance now on the Supreme Court?
Do you expand the court?
I think all these questions need to be considered, quite honestly.
When we met last time, we talked about how your son is a Republican and your daughter is not. And
she's a progressive, he's a conservative.
And how, you know, as go families, so goes the country. And you were trying to maintain the peace. I'm wondering if the conversations have evolved or changed.
It's getting tougher and tougher the closer we get to the elections, but we're all living together under one roof, mostly peacefully. And we're still, you know, recognize that what binds us, our love, our shared commitment as members of the same family, that's the most important thing. But it's going to be a testing time, no doubt, over the next several weeks.
Ambassador Rice, as always, it's great to speak with you.
Great to be with you too, Adrian. Thanks so much.
We also asked Rice if she might be offered Secretary of State in a Joe Biden administration. She said she would serve in any role he thought made the most sense. All right, when we come back, we're on the ground in Ohio, where tomorrow night Trump and Biden go head-to-head. Next, we will hear directly from the voters both so desperately want. Welcome back. With the Susan Rice interview we did, you got a good idea of how Biden's camp sees the race. But Katie Simpson heard directly from voters in Ohio. That is where Donald Trump and Joe Biden will face off tomorrow in their first presidential debate. A state that tilted heavily for Trump in 2016 and right now could go either way.
Deep in Trump country, a fun thing to do on a Saturday night is drive around showing your support for the president. And there is plenty of it all over Trumbull County, a rural Ohio manufacturing community.
What he wants for this country is what I want for this country.
Donald Trump flipped this county and others like it in 2016 with big promises of reviving the auto industry, which employed thousands of people here.
Not much has changed.
Matt Moorhead was one of the few who did not buy in.
When he spoke and said those promises, my spine it's like nails on a chalkboard.
General Motors announced it would close its Lordstown assembly plant shortly after Trump was elected, despite his promises. The parking lot emptied out as shifts were reduced, though the president vowed jobs would return.
Don't move. Don't sell your house.
This didn't stop GM. The last car rolled off the line in 2019. That's when Moorhead lost his job.
I'm 47. My hands don't work great anymore. I have some college. If I finish that, who's hiring a 50-year-old engineer?
Moorhead moved to Michigan for work, which he says was a traumatic experience.
My wife didn't tell me at the time, but from the time the plant closed till I left for Michigan, I would wake her up in the night yelling. And I didn't know I was doing that.
What did she do?
I think she just hugged me. I was yelling in my sleep.
Nobody wants to get uprooted, but GM made a business decision. Nobody liked it.
The local mayor says it's unfair to blame Trump for what happened, and he says the president needs another term to deliver on his promises.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Mayor Hill is so confident the jobs will return, he takes us for a tour of the town's construction sites.
There will be jobs here. They may not be the $25, $30 an hour jobs you had before, but there are going to be jobs in the valley.
Hundreds of new jobs will also return to the old Lordstown plant, which was sold by GM and will produce electric trucks by next year.
This president reached out to General Motors.
Vice President Mike Pence highlighted that project as proof the Trump administration is protecting the industry during the Republican National Convention.
He had Mike Pence brag about saving my hometown. Like adding 300 jobs after losing 5,000 when somebody could have stepped in.
We're all ready.
Local Democrats are trying to win back support by pointing to Lordstown as an example of Trump not living up to his word. Volunteers aren't sure it's working.
I really don't hear much about, except from people that are for Joe Biden. I think in this community, Trump has quite a bit of support.
Karen Wright and Donna Leet are first-time canvassers.
All right, we'll go.
The women call themselves moderates, and it's not so much they want Joe Biden elected. They want Trump out of office.
You too.
And so Katie Simpson joins us from Cleveland, the scene of tomorrow's presidential debate. That auto plant in Lordstown is certainly expected to come up. What else should we be watching for, Katie?
Adrian, this is all about Joe Biden and expectations. Donald Trump has cast his opponent as a man past his prime. For the past year and a half or so, he's called him Sleepy Joe. And there's a risk in that strategy. By setting expectations so low, Biden could walk in and have an okay performance and still exceed those expectations. So there's a risk this could backfire. The president is going to do what the president always does. He's going to be confident. He's going to say some things that are true, some things that are not true, pretty much what we've seen for the past 4 years. How Biden responds to Trump's attacks, that's another big question. We've seen Joe Biden lose his temper. Remember, there was the voter that questioned him about his age. He challenged the man to a push-up contest. Joe Biden needs to look like the adult in the room to rally his base and to win over the few undecided voters who are still left out there.
All right, Katie, we will see Katie Simpson in Cleveland tonight. And we will have in-depth analysis of the first U.S. presidential debate tomorrow night on The National. Here's a sense of some of the people and perspectives you'll hear throughout our coverage.
This
election is about one thing and one thing only.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Donald Trump. My name is Jascha Munk. I come at this election as a scholar of populist movements around the world.
My name is Danielle Moody's, and my hope is for a Biden-Harris win.
I'm Daniel McCarthy, and will be voting for Donald Trump on November 3rd.
My conversation with our new U.S. political panel. They have a lot to say tomorrow night on The National. And when we come back, making music when both students and instruments are required to wear masks.
I'm Josh Block. Tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast Front Burner, a Canadian man who claimed to be an ISIS executioner is now facing RCMP terrorism hoax charges for allegedly lying about it all. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. High schools across the country have become especially quiet during the pandemic, with extracurriculars like choir, music, and band restricted by public health guidelines. But as Bonnie Allen tells us, some schools are finding a way to bring back the music while keeping students and staff safe.
As these students at Sheldon Williams Collegiate play together in harmony, Ayana Yoen loses herself in the moment and the music.
I love playing music. It just feels like home, I guess.
And yes, she must wear a mask to play, and so too must her saxophone. Saskatchewan Public Health allows bands to play, and it's up to school divisions to decide how to do it safely.
It was weird for sure. Like at the very start, it was kind of like, this is strange to be in the same room playing music together.
This is no longer possible. The Government of Canada says, in theory, blowing into a wind or brass instrument could increase the likelihood of transmitting infectious droplets, but research is limited.
We actually made these bell covers.
Band director Brady Frank is relying on preliminary findings from an American study sponsored by more than 100 performing arts groups, including some from Canada. Researchers tested ways to reduce droplets and aerosols and made recommendations that Frank has applied, including spacing out, facing forward, and limiting playing time to 30 minutes, then leaving the room to allow for clean air circulation. This epidemiologist says those precautions help reduce the risk of infection and that using large rooms with proper ventilation is key.
Can you assure me that my child is, maybe I want to say 10 feet apart as opposed to 6 feet? I want more than even 6 feet apart just because there is the blowing.
There's no blowing into trumpets or flutes at this high school in Calgary, but band director Brendan Hagan expects that to change very soon.
We have parent volunteers fabricating the instrument masks for us, doing the sewing and preparing those items so that they can be ready.
This Regina band is beginning to find its rhythm.
So I like how it's a smaller group. We get more one-on-one time.
I mean, it's been pretty normal.
And these days, something that's pretty normal, well, hey.
It's pretty great. I like it.
Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Regina.
Next on The National, the stars align for a Manitoba man. A gift reminiscent of his childhood that seems fit for outer space. Our moment is next.
Winner has to buy the loser a beer.
Oh, does he?
22 Minutes is back.
Ciao!
Cops, run!
22 Minutes, new season.
Sounds about right.
October 6th on CBC and CBC Gem.
This is a trash can called the Orbit, popular in the 60s and 70s to eliminate highway litter. And for a Manitoba man, this is a picture of his childhood. So you might not think a trash can could make anyone all that happy, but it did, and that's our moment.
This is an Orbit. And for a generation, for the older generations, we remember what it was. It's actually a big trash can so that people didn't litter along the highway. My wonderful wife, Amanda, got me the last remaining Orbit that we're aware of. One of my favorite pieces of childhood. We would visit my grandparents every 2 weeks along the Trans-Canada to Portage la Prairie. There was this Orbit. And there's a countdown. There was a sign that said, countdown to orbit. Put your trash into orbit. But for a kid, you thought, it's space. It's so Manitoban. It connects everybody. I don't know, I'm giddy.
Okay, there's something very spooky about this. I don't know if you caught it in that shot that sort of pulls back. He appears to live, I have to check this here, at Neptune Bay and Planet Street. He says that is just a coincidence. I don't believe it for a second. That is a national for September 28th. Good night.